Right, there we go. So we're live. Pop the chat open on my laptop here. There we go. So just wait a couple of minutes. I'll wait a minute before we start. So I guess I'll just do a quick recap. So last stream, what we're going to do is Helix in this one, and then give it a run. Also, we need to go into the game.c and re-enable. Yeah, we need to turn off the sky. Scene shade, I think it's called. Yeah. Just turn off the sky here. Now give that a run. The last stream we did Bloom. Got Bloom sort of working, but there's a bit of a bug in it, which we're about to see. It's kind of looking a little bit blocky. And we're just going to tune it a bit just to make sure. I've thought of a few extra things off stream basically since last stream, and I think I can fix it, but you can slightly tell it's a little bit blocky. So you can tell in the scene Bloom here, it's a bit blocky, right? And you can see the blockiness. And then in the final image, you can kind of make out the blockiness. Sort of make it that there, yeah. I'm trying to fix that artifact basically. You can see it's kind of working right. It's bleeding outside the range, outside the areas. It has a bit of a glow effect, and that's what Bloom does. Welcome to stream, everyone. How you doing? Yeah. So today we're gonna fix these two little problems, and then we're gonna do a histogram-based auto exposure. So there's this blog post here, which I'll probably do it from. It's one automatic exposure using a luminance histogram. So I think it uses another blog as well, which you might look at. But effectively, you bucket. So there's two ways you can do an exposure value. So the reason why I want exposure, just recap that, is because the sky, which we don't have on right now, gets very bright, and you basically want to. Here we go. Yeah, the sky is very bright. It's too bright, actually, far too bright. And what you want to do is be able to bring the levels down. Basically multiply the color by something such that it brings the brightness down. But you need to figure out what that something is, because if not, everything is just too overexposed. So obviously that's what exposure is. So you could just downsample the whole scene and get an average of the color, and then use that to calculate the luminance, average luminance. But then it suffers from problems where you have super bright pixels or lots of very dark pixels. And what you want to be able to do is basically put them all into different buckets and then calculate an average. So that's what the histogram approach is, because it allows you to basically get rid of the high and lows and just focus on the middle, which is more important. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. And yeah, so let's start off with the Bloom and fix those two bugs. So those two bugs are simply maybe the sampling coordinate is off by 0.5 in the upsample, downsample, very quick check. And then there's a filter width on the upsample. We're doing that in UV space. Maybe we should do it in pixel space based on the highest resolution. And Yeah, I don't know. We should double check the blog on that one actually. Yeah. Okay. Right. Take a look at those then. So in the Bloom, it was graphics VK. There was a Bloom. Hey there, Trinidad Hype. How you doing? Welcome, sir. How have you been? How's the Bible reading going? Have you finished the book of Leviticus yet? Got myself a nice tea because I'm already feeling sleepy. Sunday, I was so tired after stream. I went to bed and my boy woke me up at 5. So yeah, not been the best past couple of days. So yeah, we wanted to check the filter width, didn't we? So Bloom down upscale. Yeah, we want to check that Bloom articles. It's physically based Bloom. It's on Learn OpenGL. So let's check. So these use like a pixel shader version. Mine's in a compute shader. So that when they use the frag coordinate, it's already a 0.5 offset, I think. So yeah, let's give it a let's get rid of the sky for a sec. I've been good. Sticking with it on Leviticus 16. Ah, nice. You're nearly at Leviticus 17:11, which is a good one to remember. You know, it's, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I've given it to you upon the altar to make atonement for your souls. That one. Very yeah, it's a very good one. It's where all the atonement comes from. But it's kind of points forward to what Jesus did, basically. You know, the Jews were making atonement for their souls by the the sacrifices. The ones without blemish. Do I do any fasting for Lent? I don't do it for Lent specifically, but I do it as and when. Um, yeah, so if there's something that me and my wife are um really in need of, or if there's or we feel like we want to sort of draw closer to God, we would do fasting. Um, basically. You know, there's some big life event coming up, fast and pray. Yeah. So yeah, we do it every now and then, but we just do the fast. So you don't eat you don't eat breakfast, don't eat lunch, but you try and go as long as you can. These days, well, when I was first doing it, I wasn't doing that well. I was barely surviving up to lunch. But now I can go pretty close to dinner, but I would just get bored and fancy a snack, and that's my new hurdle is like getting past the boredness. I don't think I think I've managed to sort of get past the stage where the food is like if where my body's like demanding food, basically. I don't really have now. It's just the boredness of like, oh, I'd actually really like to taste this thing. How about you? You doing fasting for Lent? What is Lent anyway? Is that like a where does it come from? Because I know that it comes from. No, I know that the early church fathers in the Didache, I think they were saying they fasted every Wednesday and Friday, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a Church of England. It can't be a Church of England thing. Where's the origins? Right, it's in the Council of Nicaea, of course it is. Yeah, but you don't do it as good as Jesus did it. Basically, you know, I've heard people do really long fasting, though. They would do it for like a week. I'm like, how? My brain would just be fried. But I think they build, they get used to it. And, yeah. Man, that's what's one of my favorite lines. In Matthew 4, verse 4, Jesus in the desert says to Satan, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Man, it's just the best line. It's so good. I was thinking about doing something already intermittent fast, so I need to find something else to give up. Right. I don't think. Yeah, maybe you can do like a longer fasting window, maybe if you feel like that way. But I don't think. Yeah, see, Lent is the idea of giving something up, isn't it? Like you could try and make it harder for yourself. That's true, but I think part of the idea of fasting is, praying and being in prayer. Like there's something about when you're hungry or when your body's going without food that you're sort of like closer with God in that sense, right? You're sort of yeah. So yeah, maybe try and go a day without food. Every week or something. I don't know. If you're going to make it a bit harder, let's try not fees by 0.5. So I think we need the texture viewer open as well. Right, so we got this guy. Okay, so okay, so in the down sample, say if we did a thing. Oh, interesting. That changed it a bit. That definitely made it a bit less blocky, but then it also has kind of shifted everything to one side, whereas this is more even. Interesting. So what about upsample? Okay, that basically changed nothing. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's wise to offset these, but yeah, that's not. Okay, so given, right, that's probably not the problem. So this filter radius, I think that should work in pixels. The min 1, max 4 maybe. So filter radius is 1 divided by the dimensions the min, maybe max element, maybe min element. GPVK image U image dims, I think yeah. So then we pass in the bloom texture. Scene bloom image. Lovely. Multiplied by the filter radius. Equally, I could just divide by it directly here like that, so it's divide equal. Rather than making it more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, so that's definitely changed some things. It's made it even more blocky. So let's read that blog on the filter radius thing again. Just made it 1 pixel. That'll go up to 4 pixels if I change it again. That's made it a bit better. Hey, Spectre of Starman, how you doing? Yeah, well, can you still catch it? Maybe not. How long have we been back for now? Oh, you might still be able to catch it. If you go back on the VOD channel, Twitch, you can go and see, not last Sunday, but the Sunday before, Sunday the 1st, there was a stream. I got a presentation going over all the juicy details of where I've been, what I've been doing, and everything like that, and what the plans are. But how have you been? Welcome back. Right, so see what this thing was talking about when it said filter width. The upsampling part. Okay. This means that we blur as we upsample using a 3x3 filter kernel. When we perform the second line, we have D bound as a target. We sample E with 3x3 around the current pixel using B4 as a radius. Oh, there's different radiuses or radii to spread out the lookup positions. An important detail is we need a different radius for each upsample, right? So I've got it in UV space, right? So it should be different for each. As the larger radii on the larger MIPS. So by using a radius in texel space, the radius will automatically grow during the upsampling procedure. The upsampling fragment shader is shown here. Right, so maybe I'm doing it over the wrong... Yeah, I'm confused. Yeah, so we've got this. The code looks just like this. But it's just... They were using a value of 0.005, I think. So if I take the calculator out, then we do like, I don't know, was it 2k? Or 4 divided by 2k, right? Wrong way around. Oh, this is in the... Yeah. So that's kind of close to what they had. Kind of. So it needs to go a bit bigger. But still. So if you're doing a very... So what I don't get is... Right, let's read that again. So you're doing a D... E would be the base one. Would be, so it's like the 8 by 8, right? The most smallest MIP. I say 8 by 4. Okay. So that's the smallest MIP, that's E. Then D is equal to the blur of E. Yeah. So now what it was saying about that is the... Yeah, so like a 0.0.5 UV in this space would basically be the same pixel. There wouldn't really be a blur which goes on, basically. So I think that's what you want. With larger radar on larger maps. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that logic does work out. But I think when it comes to this, I see, very nice. I'll check that out. Awesome. Awesome. If we change this to an 8, I wonder if that'll... Takes a bit to recompile because it's CPU side code. Let's put 2. I can't see it change, I'm gonna lie. Let's terminate you. Alright. Yeah, I think we should monkey around in the shader because that compiles quicker. But now I need to sort my build system a bit. Basically there, just a bit off. So got radius is radius, yes. We just say comment out. Right, so let's say 8. Oh no, you can't do that, can you? Actually, the bloom is in... Which one's large, X or Y? I don't know. So 8 pixels. None of that. A. Scene bloom image. Wait, I don't see no bloom. Oh yeah, because I need to go to there. Right, okay. Cool. So lovely. Right, so let's change that to 4. Right, clearly changes. Yeah, my problem is that it's just looking kind of pixely. What's up with that? Blocky. But they never do it too far, it's... And it has to additive blend. Where it's going to load. Ooh. That's the problem, isn't it? We're reading and writing to the same... So we're reading from neighbor... of course it is. Is that right? No. Yeah. No, the source one is the one. It should be fine because the source one that you're reading from is the layer before, right? And you're doing like an accumulation over the same pixel. So you read the same pixel, that should be fine. So we took the additive blend out, for instance. It's just going to be maybe it was fine. But yeah, we just increase this. It's just going to get far worse. You just see a repeat. So that's not a wise thing to do. What about this 0.5 thing? Oh, that's looking better. Huh. Right, I think that's it. Although it does seem to be going sort of one way. But maybe I'm wrong at that. Yeah, I think that 0.5 is the problem. So why do I think you have to add 0.5? That was because it's a shader rather than a pixel shader, I think. Crap, that's going to crash. Right, we crashed. Good. Yes, I think the texture coordinate came in via... Oh, okay, no, so, right. Anyways, yes, I think that is the fix, basically. And the reason why these ones are looking more bright, they're looking brighter because they're brighter colors, right, I think. Maybe, not sure. But yeah, we can... So we put that back. Well, no, so we just one more time look at the view. Ah, crap. Soon we'll be on exposure. Yeah, we can't minimize the window. There's a bug, apparently. That looks really nice. That is awesome. Right, so we look at that. Let's up here make it 16, for instance. Right, we're starting to see lots of, like, kind of a repeat now. It's a bit too far. We made it down to 1. Yeah, let's looking a little bit blocky. But from about... I see. Somewhere between 4 and 8 looks alright. So we'll make down, put down the slider. On the, out here, we'll make it between 4 and 8. Like that. Nice. And then it's just a bloom strength check. So if we go to scene shade, if we up the brightness of the color such that it comes off more emissive. There we go. It's blooming. Obviously, it's very overexposed. Although, why isn't the red bright? Can we swap the colors around the other way? Can we make it go? Can we make it red where it's green, and see if it's just the position on the screen that's the problem? It does seem like it's biasing towards the upper right. That's correct, isn't it? Yep. So let's. I think that's in. Mesh something. Mesh cache alloc. This one will get us there. Oh. Yeah, one of these. So basically where we do the green and the red, let's swap those around. See what happens. For crying out loud. So yeah, there is a problem based on position. I think. Yeah, the rights of the triangles look slightly. Yeah, the red, this side is far brighter, isn't it? Even when we swap the colors around. Oh, just when we fix the aliasing problem, it then becomes with a direction problem. But thankfully we've got the image viewer. So we can actually check as we go and do the down samples, right? What does it look like? Right, is there some problem in that front? Right, so as we go down, let's go down a couple more. They're looking kind of even, aren't they, really? So yeah, they're looking kind of even there. But then on the up sample, let's get them up. Oh, my face. So it seems like it might come from the upsample. I don't know. Yeah, it's already much brighter here. So what's interesting is the upsample has it's a power of 2 rounded up image, right? There's actually a lot more space to play around with on the right hand side, right? Because it's rounded up to the power of nearest power of 2. But then why would it have a bias towards the up and right? Um, hmm. Yes, I think it might have to do with the fact that so we are using a clamped sampler. So the blog post was suggesting make sure. Yeah, so let's get rid of let's get rid of the extra wasted space then. I think that could help us out. So we do this sort of like rounded up thing. So if we don't do that anymore and just did this, would it be a problem? Yes, in the shaders now, the bloom down sample, we've got to do the classical thing that we do in everything else. Where we say, hey, if we're out of bounds, don't do anything. So we've got to pass in dims, I think, there. Yes, that'd be like a source dims, isn't it? I already got it, source dims. Hang on a minute. The destination dims, yeah, of course. Already passed them in. Nice. So if we could try that. Alright, clearly got some problems. Right, something expected to be a power of 2. I'll MIP from dims. Well, I'm glad we got the assert there to catch that problem, but does it have to be a power of 2 though? Is that right? There's this function here which get this one, it gets the number of MIP levels. They all have to be power of 2s for some reason. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I think we can do like a -1, you know, and then do the same thing. I think. Yeah, we're gonna have to play around with this. I think we can make of it them not being a power of 2, although final dim has to be a power of 2, but not the dims per se. We're just gonna monkey around with this such that it's fine. So say if you've got somewhere, so if you pass in a dim of 15. Hey there, Katamori, how you doing? Welcome back. Oh, long time no see. I wondered what happened to you, but you changed your name. Yeah. Hmm. Nice. Yeah, no, I only come back not last Sunday, but the Sunday before. And there is actually still the stream which is available. So if you want to see like where we've been or where I've been, what I've been doing, and what the new direction is, if you go back to Sunday the 1st VOD on Twitch, will be up until Twitch takes it down. So that it might only be up for the rest of this week. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. But yeah, go check it out there. And yeah, see some more stuff. But I'm gonna be probably posting some like a devlog or something at some point in the future. So yeah. And I'm obviously here to ask questions anytime. Answer questions anytime. But yeah, how's things been with you? So say we have a dimension of 16, right? And then we take the most significant bit, that will get us, oh crap. That will give us 3, right? 1, 0, oh, it's an index. 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Then we add 1. So it'd be 4. What am I trying to say? Yeah, it gets you 4. So that's the number of MIP levels. So if I did divided 2, that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. To get to 1 by 1. Now, then number of MIPS is 4. So we want it as an 8. 8 would be 3 as well, wouldn't it? So most significant bit would be yeah. Yeah, I think it would be fine if I don't have them on there, because if I had it at 17. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll see if it breaks. Seems like it works out. Right, why is this complaining now? Must be a power of 2. Oh, did I not say that? I don't know if that fixed the problem. It still has... It's still much brighter on the right-hand side. It's... Wait, we can check. So new goal is to create Christian-based games. Yep. It will be hard to make a game that is fun, doesn't involve around combat. I guess your only option is simulation. Not necessarily. You know, there's plenty of stories in the Bible around that there is combat in there and things like this. But yeah, I'm not sure what is the best approach. You know, because lots of games are, that is very true, combat orientated, right? Or you can say the word violence. And you know, there's quite a lot of I think like these days people sort of trying to make games which are not really violent, right? Um, different sorts of games. Um, but yeah, it doesn't have to exclude violence, right? Because if you go throughout the Bible, plenty of violence in the Bible, right? Because there's plenty of you know stories of man doing horrible things. But there's lots of really great scenes in. Oh, I was reading. I'm currently going through the book of Jeremiah, and man, it's so great. That man. But yeah, see, I'm not sure. We could take. Yeah, there's plenty of things to do. The question is do you want to make a game? The thing is you want to try and make it an actual game, right? Rather than just an interactive story, right? You don't want to make it a walking simulator. Um, you know, and also could you give a player, you know, so if you just did a story from the Bible and it's a very detailed story, right? That's already got lots of content in it about it, like down to the T. The player having freedom in it is not really of choice and things to do isn't really going to exist in it. Um, yeah, so there's things to think about, right? Or maybe you do something which is not necessarily a Bible story, but has Christian themes and teaches, you know, a Christian story perhaps in a different way or whatever, right? Um, things to pray about, things to think about, you know, storyboard out, have a think, and see if said thing would actually be fun and provide value. But yeah. Scott Cawthon made some interesting works before FNAF. Right, I've not seen this. Have you got any links by any chance there, Victor? Sure, there might be some violence in the Bible, but representing it on screen is a different story. City building, maybe, yeah. You know what's interesting as well is you get lots of like babyfied versions of what goes on in the Bible, right? The Bible is not really a babyfied book. So, for instance, like when you talk about the time before the flood, right? Noah's flood, like there's such an interesting thing where basically, look if you look at the timeline of Noah, like when Noah was born, he knew basically people who nearly went back all the way as far as Adam, the first creation, because they lived nearly 1,000 years. So he knew, like, I think it was Methuselah. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but yeah, like the longest recorded human. Just a little bit longer than living Adam. Adam lived to 930. I think Methuselah, whatever that name is, lived up to 960. So, sort of like in those days, people would have known their sort of great grandparents, and they'd also have basically been one off of hearing exactly the story about Adam in the garden, right? And what it was like before that they fell. It's just interesting. Church, the cathedral building game would be fun. Right. Right, building a church or what do you mean, like building the actual building and designing it? Yes, in those days they lived for a very long time, like Lamech. To Balkane. Oh yeah, to Balkane, yeah. Lots of Greek mythos based on those people. Yeah, that's very true. I guess you could represent that on screen as a story, but the question comes, would battle become gore bloody? Maybe it isn't Christian or noble anymore. Yeah. See, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, do you sort of like not put it on the screen or do you put it there? Right. Um, but then again, the Old Testament is very bloody, right? You know, the Jews, when they sinned, they would take an animal to the altar and the priest would, slaughter it. So, yeah, you know. Right, so now we're sort of on an even picture. That's still not really solved the problem. It does seem brighter. Like to me, isn't isn't blue? No, red's the darkest color, isn't it? Yeah, I think red's the darkest color. Is that right? I forget these things. No, blue's the darkest color. Of course it is. Yeah, it's blue. Yeah, so blue then red then green. So green's obviously the brightest, right? So let's go to the scene. Shade. And we can print. Oh, I want to do like if is mouse at. The blue, green. Yeah, they're all the same sorts of color. So then, like, okay, I guess we've got to dig now into the. So where does it start doing? So let's go all the way down to the lowest MIP. 10 by 7. So what we're noticing is it kind of looks even there, right? As we go up. Right, this is where it starts to go a bit wrong, I think. Yeah, I've already lost it there. Yeah, so I think that offset is kind of required, but then it starts looking blocky. this looks amazing. And, you know, compared to what it was before. So we needed like an offset. Okay. Right, back to the drawing board then. Right, so let's do some of this for now. Right, let's look at this guy. So we want to look at that scene and bloom down or bloom up. So we had this, if we put the offset in, that looks even, but now it looks blocky. So that's annoying. Yeah, plus offset. So yeah. So if we did offset by an entire 1, how does that look? Then it goes the other way, doesn't it? How annoying. In between is a big no. So surely then the radius. Hang on a minute. So if the filter radius. Yes, the problem is these zeros, I guess, is the issue. Right, those zeros. Are we sampling the right? Double check the setup code. So upsample is source MIP. We're going from the back MIP. Destination. Nice. Makes a lot of sense. Yep. Okay, so this code here is just yeah. Tiny glade with the cathedrals. Yeah, I went into a Catholic church a few months ago now. Yeah, the architecture was quite nice inside. First time I've been in one. But yeah, it was weird though. Seeing all the like the way they did the service and everything. Very, very different. Um, oh crap. So why would it be very blocky? Do your sampling, I guess this one samples, so sampling the one below, yeah? And you merging it with the current one. So, hang on. Linear, UV. So, you're grabbing Why would it be so blocky? Yeah, because if you're doing a half a pixel, it's probably going to bilinear interpolate into just a pixel rather than a 2 by 2 neighbor in the parent, something like that. So, right. Right. So, uh, so would it be right? Hmm. Or can you do 0.25? It's still got the same sort of problem, isn't it? Still a bit blocky. And it does lean a bit more to the right, I imagine. Oh no. Yeah. So the 0.5 is the best, but then in terms of it fits perfectly, but it just ends up blocky, which is a shame. It's probably because of right. So maybe if we add so if we added the 0.5 radius on these, how does that look? Oh, of course not. Sorry, hang on a minute. We want to do like a how does a half pixel look across how does that look? Oh, of course, they've got to be .x and y's and all of that. Okay, so still looking a bit. I think that's fixed it. Maybe. Looking a bit more even. So if we did nothing, it would be like that. But we did a pixel offset, and it works. So I think this is a bit of a hack. But it seems to fix the problem. That's all that matters. Something else could be wrong, but this fixes it. It is confusing. I don't know where the... Seems like there is another problem elsewhere. Because they were doing inside pixel shaders. but this is in a compute shader. And I don't know if there was like an automatic 0.5 offset somewhere. Bizarre. Yeah. 0 is fine. Yeah, 0 looks wrong. I mean, 0 divided by x is going to be 0, yeah. So that original figure seems wrong too. No, because these are offsets. Sorry, the code's a bit confusing. So it's just a macro. You're passing an x and a y offset based on source UV, which is this guy, right? But that would be aligned to the corner of a pixel. In the source texture. Basically. And if we put that in the middle, it gets blocky, right? But then yeah, it's all about doing like a 3x3 and stuff like this. So maybe yeah, I think it just requires drawing out to see what the problem is, but this fixes it for now. I guess we can just stick one of those comments in there. Right. For some reason, 0 offset makes the bloom appear blocky. No, not makes it appear blocky. Yeah, it does, I guess. And offset. And using a value of 1 fixes it. Pixels fixes it. There we go. So I was thinking maybe we put a 0 and then that made it such that it would lean to. It was weird. Right. Right. That currently makes a little bit. Right. But anyway, that looks way better. Cool, we can finally get to exposure now like we planned to do today, but at least the bloom is kind of looking proper. So as you can tell, it's been overexposed. These things are far too white. Right, same when we put the sky back in. Right, so we go to the scene, bring the sky back in. And you'll notice way too overexposed. So Well, I think that the sky is barely up, basically, and here's the sky image. Here it is at 1, and the sun has basically started just to come up, so we kind of want it to look like this. And this is all generated procedurally, right? So shader we've taken from Shader Toy. Now, so our thing's a bit overexposed, so we need to bring the exposure down such that our post-process image probably looks more like this, kind of, rather than what we see something like this. We want it to bring the exposure down somewhere like that. So, as we said earlier, there's a few ways to do this. You can downsample the whole image, but then that means you can get some very bright pixels, and those can heavily influence the average luminance, or you can get some very dark pixels, and those will heavily influence the luminance. So what you need is a way to basically cut out the tallest peaks and the valleys, right? Just focus on the middle. Beautiful color scheme. You're talking about in the 3D render that we have, the scene. Yeah, it does look nice. It's a physically based sky. You should take a look at the shader. It's lovely. So physically, or sky shader, Shader Toy on it. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for. So it's one, I think. I need to put the sun in it though. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's neat. It needs to have the sun in it. It's just the sky part. The sun's obviously very easy to put in. Look at that. Oh, so we've got it at the horizon like this, and it's like way too bright, basically. Something like that. But obviously this has got some adjusted. It's got an exposure. See here, look. Yeah. Yeah, -4, right? Well, yeah. If we take out the multiplier here, yeah. This is what we got. Okay. So we need to basically make it go like this. So we want to do a manual exposure, because that would not be good enough. We want it to make it automatically adjusting towards the scenes. So what we're going to do is implement something like this, which is a histogram based. We basically just we dispatch a compute shader over the whole screen. We convert the color. Too many constants. Need more magic numbers. So it's doing 16 by 16. That's a good one. So it's 256 per group. So let's make a new shader then. New compute shader. Code, modules, graphics, VK, shaders. Take the scene shade because it's quite a simple one. We know to work around that one. So scene, or we can call it exposure. What do you call it? Measure, weigh, collect, histogram, gather. It's a gather, isn't it? Exposure gather. And then exposure compute. Something like that. Sounds very SIMD. So gather. Oh. I was dabbling in artistic based, non physically based atmospheric scattering some months ago. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, games don't typically look well, yeah, games are going quite towards realism. there's that thing where it's like, if you have really nice realistic lighting, then you can have like you can also have some artistic um elements to it. And that's kind of the way things are going now. Like when you see some productions, man, they look so good. Like um, I'll show you one in a minute. Let me just read your thing. I was trying to capture the scattering from multiple parts of a planet's silhouette, right? Depending on the sun angle, etc. Cool. Produce some interesting, if not optically accurate results. Nice. Have you got any images still, or is that going to be a bit too much of a faff? Me and my wife have been trying to watch this with my son, the David film. Was it David film, and it's not available in the UK. It's done by Angel Studios, isn't it? The Christian based thing, but they've got the sort of TV yeah, see if we can watch the trailer. Yeah. So they've got like 5-minute shorts on their streaming service. And the rendering in this is quite inspiring, really. Watching it. I was telling my wife how nice it looked. Not Yeah, this wasn't one was actually watching. It's more of this TV one, but I think it's very similar. This doesn't really look very. But deep down, I know it doesn't really do it justice because it was all in HDR and everything, and it looked really nice, and it wasn't all artifacty from the. Yeah, the rendering was really well done on the TV series, at least that I saw. I haven't seen the movie yet. But basically, they have really good like hair rendering, and you always see like this the light sort of come around the edges of his hair. This one is a bit different actually. And then, but so the lighting looks really realistic, but obviously it's got that sort of artistic look to it. Anyway, probably does it much more justice when you see it on an actual screen that's not all compressed like crap. I don't know what render was used on it, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. Awesome. I'll let's see that. Hey, Master Agent, how you doing? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to tip my microphone at the same time. How are you? Welcome. BRDS with artistic modifications, etc. Yeah, exactly. Just changing it and fudging it. The fudge factor. Right, so we want a histogram. Yeah, I want to do a gather and a compute. So, build script main. So build script needs to be better, but for now we do the classical thing of not changing it and just adding another line until it becomes a big problem to fix. Yeah, more important things at the moment. So exposure, gather, I guess. Compute. Lovely. Now, exposure, gather. So let's write all this up. So graphics, VK, shared between the CPU and GPU. Ooh. What does it take? There's going to be a couple of parameters. Exposure, gather. So there'll be a destination into some buffer at the end, but it's probably going to thread local, what do you call it, group shared memory. Yeah, probably going to that. So we'll have like an exposure buffer. There'll be a buffer ID of floating point, I think. No. It's just a count. Yeah. So it's just the histogram. We probably want a way to debug it as well, like a debug visualization. We'll see what we can do about that. We're going to want some input parameters, probably something like there was the offset thing, wasn't there? The color to bin index. Yeah, so there's like a min log loom and an inverse log loom range. Yep, so we want those passed in, so these are configurable. Min log of luminance for the buckets. And what is the range? Inverse log luminance range. So your bucket, basically, where's the start and end luminance for the buckets and everything. If your luminance goes outside that bucket range, it will be clamped to the ones on the end. So then you can get rid of the ones on the end, basically, the buckets on the end. And there'll be 256 buckets, I think. That's the basic idea. To be a gather. Oh, wait, we need a read. Read only. No, read write. And then a compute is probably just going to read over the same thing, I think. We'll see there. So and close enough, Jesus, Santa Claus, fair play. Yeah, I need to add some Christian based ones these days, but we'll get there. Oh, lovely. Well, I ain't got the stream chat up on my desktop. See what I can do around there. All right, what we got? Oh. Those kids don't messed up the country this much. Wow. Hang on a minute. Really? Guys, we live in like a third world country. We don't kind of have access to the internet. This is horrible. What's going on? It's not been there for a while, has it? Oh. I did not realize it's been that long. You know, I stopped streaming before then, so I haven't been using my computer that much to look at images stuff. But yeah. This is horrible. Yeah, we clearly we need protecting from all of those images for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I feel like blocking Google Images. Weird. All right, let's take a look at the histogram thing. So we basically want to, yes, you have this shared thing. Oh, it's already got the optimization. Isn't that lovely? So I think it's just, you just write the word shared in GLSL, get it shared between the thread groups. Oh, and you want to do like a 1616. Yes, but you want to do it in Morton. You want to do like a Morton Swizzle version. So you want to do it 256 and have a new one of these guys. That's what you want. You don't want to do it the... Oh, and I've already got it. Pass me. Pass me as it. There we go. The Morton Swizzle version. So then that'd be more cache effective. Now, so I'm gonna do like a shared. Is it U32? Am I? Yeah, U32. So we'll call it G histogram. And we want to have a certain number of histogram buckets. So exposure buckets. I don't know. What's the number of buckets we need? So again, that will go in the shared. 256, I think, is plenty. You might be able to go less, but let's just do 256. You know, which we can tune this stuff later on. Just get a version in. So basically, before we early out, we want to make sure that we clear. Hang on, what is this one doing? Is it gonna, yeah, image global? That's gonna overwrite to the, that's gonna be bad performance, surely. Is that overwriting to the same? No. Oh yes, the clever thing is 16 by 16. They're all gonna fill in the thread group their own one. Yeah, that's good. So there's 256, and then with per thread group, and then obviously there's 256 here as well. Then so that means you can basically get them all to start up and go into the histogram and write in using that sort of local id.x or whatever it is, and then just set it to 0, put a barrier in there, and yeah, then you obviously get your pixel coordinate on the image that we're sampling from, and you do want to have those dims passed in. That is a good point. So you do want to say have yourself some dims there passed in, and also a scene image. So we want a read-only scene image to be passed in, which we're gathering the luminance from. Now, so we grab the full color. Then, beautiful that. We probably want to grab the luminance, I imagine. Yeah, I think we want to do the opposite of that, but let's just see. So, you know, if you're in bounds, grab that, convert the color to bin. I'm not sure. I guess we can have a separate function for it. Yeah, let's just grab it and we can change it. But then again, color to bin index, then might need to be shared. We'll see. So your data laws must be brutal compared to even the EU countries, as in Sweden I can press something without an issue. I mean, probably good for consumers in some aspects, but block an image. I know it's very strange. What about like Pinterest and stuff like that? I think it's because they blocked all the porn websites and required an account to be made, but it wasn't necessarily just porn as well, because they had, even the Bible Gateway was taken off for a very long time. And yeah, I haven't looked in this for the specifics. It was taken off for like 3 months to fix something. I'm an atheist, by the way, but non-violent video games for the win. As main Christian-based games, I assume they'll be non-violent. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they won't glorify violence, that's for sure. Yeah, that is very true, isn't it? It's like The easiest way to make a game fun is make it violent, right? Um, so I don't know. We're probably going to try and avoid that. Maybe it just really depends what the theme of the game is, right? If it involves if there's violence in there, you know, you can't hide away from it. But we'll see. But yeah, the idea is we want to pick something very small, focused, or at least that can start off small and focused and grow into something bigger, right? So there's yeah, there's some things to think about. But yeah, there's plenty of stories to do. But as I was saying earlier, it's like if you pick a story that's very detailed in the Bible, you're taking away freedom from someone, and you're just basically making your you're taking the freedom of choice away, and it's mainly they're just going through a sort of a very fixed story. Um, or maybe there could be some, but yeah. Anyway, lots of things to think about and pray about. That's for sure. Right. So where's the finally an image? That looks cool. Nice. It's got like a. I see you've taken it with your phone, and yeah, nice. Yeah, you've got this sort of glow around it. Awesome. What is this planet meant to be? So you're making like a space sim. Colored bin. I guess we'll call it count bin index. None of that. Oh, we could have called it bins rather than bucket. Much better. So yeah, it's obviously the full color. Log. That's all passed in, isn't it, via the P's and the push constants up here. To be a global. This just defines the global basically. Makes it easier to do that. So color RGB to loom. We've got luminance for that. So we do it in P3 space. Luminance P3 and not Rec 7 and 9 because it's proper HDR renderer. So luminance. Yeah, the word lums makes me think of Rayman collecting your lums. Avoid making the log of 0. Ah. Not sure what epsilon is in this case. Alright, let's go with that one. Nice. So push constants. Then inverse log luminance range. Then climb 0 to 1 log luminance. Right, so calculate. That's pretty obvious that it's not needed, that comment. Calculate the log2 luminance and express it as value between 0 and 1. Where 0 represents minimum luminance and 1 represents max. As unorm Cool. Nice map. The 0th bin is handled by the epsilon check above. Right, I see. Clever. That's cool. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Lovely. Right. So I think we're saying if not of this, basically. If all are less than, then color. Get the color. Give me the bin index. So pass in the color. Lovely. And really you could just yeah, why do we have to put it into a separate function? Unless we don't need it. Well, it's the return early, isn't it, really? Yeah, we'll leave it at that. But then we atomic add. So atomic add into G histogram. Bin index. Then also just adding 1. Yeah, so I think you can speed that up here, maybe. We'll see. Then a barrier, then it's going to write it all to main memory. So barrier, then take 1 thread each and atomic add it out to main memory. Yeah, of course. So atomic add into the histogram buffer from our histogram so the global histogram from the thread group. The thread group is just an optimization such that if multiple pixels fall into the same bucket, yeah, I think you can do some wave intrinsics as well to sort of minimize that. So maybe, but anyway, so we want to do like a buffer. We'll do some buffer access. Is that in graphics, GPU, frame minute? I guess. Perfect. This is what I want. Right, so I want to do a buffer read write access to U32 from the buffer that is in the push constants. So yeah, histogram, that's our boy. Right, cool. Right, so I think that's what we want. Yeah, I guess you can use some wave intrinsics to speed this up a bit, where you could basically say, oh, hey, welcome. Thank you so much for raid, sir. How's it going? All right, let's catch up with the chat. It's not state of the art, but some subtle coloration there. Old picture updated. Change your project quite a bit since, so I can't print screen anything right now. Okay, nice. Right, you try to go back to C89 recently. the first time, like half a decade. It's so hard, imagine now. I enjoyed it back then. Yeah, bumped it back to C99. Yeah, C99 is way better. You get the single line comments and you get the designated initializers, and they work with arrays as well. It's so good. So good. And you can do like, oh, it's amazing. Like in C++, you have to like, if you want to turn an enum into a string, you have to make a function with a switch statement. But in C, you can initialize a global variable with an enum array, and yeah, so good. So good. But yeah, thank you for the follows, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the raids, sir. Appreciate you. We're currently working on an engine from scratch in C. Currently working on adding exposure to our. Yeah, we're not being able to run anything right now, maybe, but yeah. So we're currently just working on. Yeah. So we've got this all custom engine with a few like debug stuff, like an image viewer and a built-in profiler as well, and we've got Bloom working already. We fixed it up today finally, and we've got a sky rendering. We're just sorting out the exposure, so we're making auto exposure such that it can automatically bring the levels down and make it fit the scene properly, stuff like that. Be any questions, feel free to ask away. Okay, so what's the problem with this? I think it's fine. We could do wave intrinsics to basically iterate over all of the waves with the same buckets, which is probably going to be, yeah, then basically iterate through them all, do wave active mins. But you know, to do wave intrinsic, yeah, we're likely to hit into the neighboring pixels are likely to hit into the same area, basically. You know, the neighboring pixels are going to most likely go into the same bucket or same bin. That's right. Lovely. So what's the problem with this one? So dims is not in. Yeah, it is just right there. All right, near there. So 20. All right. Right, so we're trying to load a RGB A16F. Calculate Bennett, no. Right, RGBA. Lovely. So we've got that compiling now. So now it's got to work on the other shader. So after we've gathered into the histogram, right? So we do have to make sure we clear the histogram to 0. This is vital. So what we probably want to do is actually get in there and write that code now, because if we don't, I'm going to forget that problem. Forget it will become a problem. So I guess before Bloom, what we'd like is a calculate or compute exposure. So for this one, we want to do a GPU VK clear buffer. Right, now we don't have this yet, but we need a histogram buffer. Right. Now, we could probably get away with just having a global one. GPU VK buffer init. Something like this. GPU VK buffer init static. So we'll just call it exposure histogram. And then we just do graphics VK exposure bins times size of U32 because it's in bytes. Nice. That's all initialized now. So it will look for exposure. We can simply just pass that in there. We can say how we want to clear it. We want to clear it to zeros, and it clears the whole buffer for us, which is amazing. Then we want to launch the shader. So I guess we can just leave that there and we'll come back to it in a minute maybe. I don't know. Let's launch it. Let's launch it. It'll be fun. So it's called exposure gather PC. So we want in there a read-only image of the scene shaded image. So that'll be the scene image. We would like a histogram buffer. Read write. And we would like these things here, this luminance range. You know, those could be constants, but we probably want to make them configurable for, you know, some settings thing, basically. Here's some maps recently for Bare Metal C project made a messy custom implementation of red black trees. Ah, I see. Yeah, implementing a red black tree is like, it's a bit of a fiddle. There's those 4 different states, and yeah, it could be in that. I remember writing one before. uh, good times, yeah. The red black trees. It's interesting in like computer science, they get you to do all this tree stuff, right? All these different trees or sorting algorithm implementations and stuff like this. But programming day to day, you never basically do that. But then, like, you know, a red black tree. I think the valid use case for red black trees in the text in like a text editor. If you did the it's not the gap buffer, but the rope buffer. Yeah, and that was a fiddle. That's the only time I've used a tree. They're not really that useful. I know the other times in a BVH, obviously, doing a BVH tree and stuff like that. But yeah, very rarely use trees. Right, so min luminance setting, I guess we want to call it, right? So log luminance. So as you go in log luminance, it feels linear, doesn't it? And it's got to be log 2 luminance as well. So we should probably... Yeah, it's log 2 luminance, so we should make that explicit because log obviously can mean like natural log, right? I love that name. All right. So I don't know. What's a good value for that? What did this person use? Can we do a value of like 1? Well, so is it an EXP2 or something like that? It's EXP2. I don't think Google does EXP2 well. So you might have to get out your JavaScript. Come on. Console. Right, math EXP. Oh, you can't do EXP2 in JavaScript either. Oh, what a joke. Okay, well, we'll just... So, as you get close to 0, it goes into the negatives, right? So I think we get away with a 0 for now. I think that'd be fine. Now the range, I don't know what would be a good number. Maybe 64, maybe far less than that. No. It's in log, isn't it? So, oh yeah, so 8 would be 256. So, yeah. So 0 would be 1, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's log 2. Cool. Easy. So let's try that for now. So these are meant to be exposed into some configurable setting that we can put in the UI, tweak them and have some fun with it. But yeah, that requires work and is effort, so therefore skip for now. So what else is required? I think that's it. Yeah, so we just want to... So exposure gather. And then exposure compute. Right, so we're just going to go ahead and plop that before Bloom. Compute me some exposure, please. And I love C programming, it's so great. Things are just so simple and easy to read. Dun, 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 dun. Is that ready at 5? I don't think so. Hey, so we missing E32, I think. Oh yeah. Nice. Alright. Oh, right, we crashed the GPU. No biggie. Yeah, why is that happening? Oh, because we're running the wrong shader. Of course. So graphics exposure can gather. So now remember it's 16 by 16. Ah, so good. Right, so now pop open the profiler. Hit pause, zoom in, I think. And what you find here is, ta-da, exposure gather. So the gather op takes 0.08 milliseconds for this screen size. But if we do, my eyes right now are being blinded. So bright. And it crashed. Right, still running. Now, volume takes 2 milliseconds there. That's not very nice. And this one takes 0.4 milliseconds on a... okay, interesting. I recently learned I can override formatting and color for Bash. Looks like I can mess around with this action. Nice. Yeah, you can override the color format in Bash. That's right. If you use the, I used the fish shell, I think it was, when I was in the. Is it fish shell? Make it more. Is it a lot more configurable? Well, not is it a lot more configurable. It's easier to configure. It does it like a web panel, a web page, like a web page. This is bash var and make file. So double mess. Ah, my eyes. uh, a make file. Nice. Yeah, what was it about fish shell that I used to like about it? Yeah, it used to come set up with lots of stuff. A lot. Yeah. Like, what was it? What was nice about the fish shell? I think it was the when you do the tabbing and your the autocomplete stuff is nicer. And I think the home bar, whatever you call it in the terminal, whatever it's called, this piece can come up with like stuff about your Git branch that you're on and stuff like that, and how many commits how many changes you've made in a file and stuff like that. It's quite nice. And I think there was lots of themes as well built in. Yeah. Okay. So now I've got to do the compute one. Yeah, so the thing is, if you go and use fish shell, just make sure your default shell remains to be bash, because then it means when you run any shell scripts, it will use bash and not fish, because fish actually has a different evaluation, like shell scripting language. So it's not really compatible with most of your system scripts. So it's a bit, you can't basically switch over as the default. I think some people try and do it anyway. It might be what better these days with systemd, but right now we need to calculate the average. Just read this bit. So with the Luminous buffer now in hand, we can average. Wait. Yeah, I don't think we have to understand. We've already understood what's going on. It's a good image though. Yeah, we can now have. We can. Average. Okay. Anyway, since the buffer purely exists on GPU, we can use another compute shader to find the average. This time, we're not mapping our compute space into 2D image, but a 1D histogram instead. Yep. Additionally, instead of writing to the buffer, we'll read from the buffer and store the value into a single pixel texture. Now I'm going to put it into a global buffer. So things will be simpler than in the last program once. Okay, it's fine. Right, so we don't need any more buffers basically. Similar thing. We'll do something like this. Now, dun. So yeah, we just need a 256. So we're going over the histogram. So exposure compute. Now in the let's go into the yeah, exposure compute first. Then let's go into the shared. And in the globals, we want to drop in there the computed exposure. Right, I don't know what we want to call this, but I think we're gonna, this has to be set at some point initially. It has to go here on the persistence side. So the CPU side uploads this, but this stays persistently the same. So what we need to make sure is when we initialize the GPU system, we need to make sure we initialize this exposure value to something that's sensible, and then like 1, and then we can gradually change it over time based on delta time, right? Which would be cool. So that's what we would like. We get it so it doesn't just snap, it sort of slowly fades a bit like the eye does, but obviously quicker. So radio. So we want the histogram based thing again. So 256 threads here. Probably that'll just be graphics. So I guess we read it in right away again. So count for this bin. What's the local index? Okay, it's just done that. Terrible. Barrier. So we want to get the count that remains in the bin. So histogram. Not bin count. Yeah, bin. It's off by 1 letter, so probably bin. I guess count in bin is better. A bit shorter. Now, yeah, so this one would need to be looking inside the histogram. So read only. Graphics shared. Probably want it to be read only. Now, we then want to store it. Count in bin. Multiplied by the local index. Why is that? Why would you do times the local index? Let's do it anyway. But I guess it's some kind of stride or offset such that, like exposure, stride or offset or something like that. It's weird though. Right, then reset the count in the buffer the next pass. Right, it's a good oh, it has to be read right then. Okay, no worries. No, but next pass. Oh, that's a good point. We already clear it to 0 anyway in a separate. Yeah, I guess you can get a free. Yes, I think on the first frame we'll clear it to 0, but after that it'll just do it in the shader as it goes along. So this is saying this loop will perform a weighted count of the luminance range. Right, this doesn't look confusing at all. I guess this thing explains it down below. So the group size is 256. So you start off at 250 or 128, and you go while you're not 0, and obviously you half it every time. So you're saying right. So it's sort of just shuffling it around. Now, why does this? But then why do a barrier? Yes, it's the local index plus a cutoff. Oh, so in lockstep you're doing. No, it can't be. This seems like it'll have race conditions, right? Because it's in multiple thread groups. You're just getting lucky. Ah, my laptop. No. Yeah, this looks very dodgy. What did the person's blog post do as? I've seen ones do it with for loops, but this looks very. But like, let's see the write up about it. The write up says for each thread, we read the histogram value and store it into local variable. Then we use a shared buffer to store a weighted count. We also use the opportunity to reset the histogram back to 0. We can use the next frame yet. Also note that we aliased this in this specific example, right? It may not be obvious that what the while is doing. It certainly wasn't to me, but it's simpler than it looks. It accumulates the count into a single element of our shared buffer, leveraging the parallel nature of the compute space to perform the sums over 2 cells at a time. This separation between the 2 cells starts off at yep, and it's halved every iteration, yep, until we end up with a distance of 0. Threads that have local index greater than cutoff will be stalled as they cannot contribute to the sum. Right. Okay, so interesting. Seems pretty clever then if it doesn't. So why is it not reading memory which is being so you have 256 threads, right? And they're running in parallel. There's a barrier here such that they stop, right? So they all run in parallel. Your local index is going to be 0 to 255 inclusively. So you read it into the same buffer and this is like basically the bottom half, right? This is always the bottom half of 0 to 255. Then right, but the cutoff is going to be like 128. It starts off at 128. So actually, okay, I see. So then you do, so it's plus 128. I see. So it's always grabbing the ones past the cutoff. The problem is though, don't you get a overflow? No, because it's the highest would be 128 plus 128 or whatever it is, right? 127 plus 128. Okay, that's super clever. That's really cool. Right, so we understand this code now. So we can put it in. Man. The stuff that people do with in compute shaders. Super clever. Get rid of the rest of this. Right, so it's like this cutoff. Group size would just be the buckets. And then so I guess I could throw a comment in just to make it a little bit easier to understand. So we're just saying basically reduce or accumulate yeah, so because we've multiplied it here already, it's like a weighted accumulate. Of the luminance range into G histogram 0 basically, right? Lovely. So then we need the last thread to sort of finish off the job.
What you're referring to as Balenciaga is in fact GNU/Balenciaga, or as I've recently taken to calling
What
it,
happened to
GNU
my chat on the
Balenciaga.
laptop? I can't see it. Ah, Pablin Joe, welcome. Thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it, sir. Or for gifting the sub. Appreciate you. Welcome, welcome. So thread index, what does that one mean? So I think that's be local. They're all active at this point. So we could probably get away. There is a in his first thread, what is that? GeoCell. Just ask the AI what it is. Yeah, but that's if they're all active. There's a function for it. Right, there's the elect extension. I guess we'll just leave that out. Okay, so see what this code is about. So here we're taking a weighted sum, and divide it by the number of pixels that had luminance greater than 0. Since the index 0, we can use count for this bin to find the number of black pixels. Interesting. Some more clever stuff. Yes, you want to discard the top and the end bin, right? Pretty sure that's the way you want to do it. Right, see if we can understand this. What's this num pixels thing? Ooh. Gotta figure out what num pixels is now. Is that just the dimensions? You know, the product of the dimensions? I think that is. What is num pixels about? Right, so it does the clever thing. What's this pixel count thing? Does it mention? Right, I think we'll just have to read the code and figure out what that actually is. I think it's just the number of pixels in a render target. So here we take our weighted sum and divide it. The weighted sum, keep it consistent. And divide it by the number of pixels. Yeah, I guess it's number of pixels on the... Yeah, that sounds right. So that would be... We'll pass that in. By the push constants that had luminance greater than 0. I see. So basically, we get rid of the black. I see. The black pixels from the count. So the problem is it's going to include the black pixels though, isn't it? No problem. Keep on thinking about. Thank you. What we program in POC. I know, right? Yeah, lots of you go on Twitter. There's lots of people talking about AI all the time and stuff like this, and saying how their life has changed now they program with AI. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's a wise idea. Man, my laptop's not got the chow up anymore. I have to keep switching over. This ain't fun. But what I get is, why is the histogram 0 would also contain the black pixels, right? Because It would have been times by 0. Clever. Right. Nice. So then... Yeah. So... max 1. You don't do a divide by 0, then take 1. Right. So weighted log average. And then 254, which is interesting. Does this get rid of the high bin map? Or is it just getting rid of the low bin? Map our histogram space into actual luminance. Right, so it goes the other way now. This is log luminance range, not inverse log luminance range. Oh, right. Nearly there. Lovely. Right, so there's a last frame luminance. This is what we want. And then time. Yeah, it's like a delta time. Maybe. You probably want like a delta time there. So the new store value will be interpolated using the last frame's value. Exactly. This is what we want. So we're storing it inside, rather than a texture, we just store it in a global buffer. So G exposure. Right, read it out there. Previous exposure. So we want to basically gradually move towards the new. Oh, that's the luminance last frame. Right, not really exposure. We want to talk about the sort of average luminance. Probably need another one now. Right, so previous average luminance. Last. Then we probably want some kind of like delta time or something. So we do want that in there as well. DT, we'll get that in there, don't worry. That'll be a GD DT. Then the sort of adapted, just be the new luminance. We just store it back out in the buffer like that. Cool. I don't know if that's going to be a read write though. It should be. Yes, read write, lovely. Awesome. Yes, keep that there. That'll be cool. Right, so just got to do a few things now. So let's go ahead and move over to the graphics VK side and get this going. So log2 luminance range. So we need to put them here probably. So we want the inverse for this one. Then this clear buffer actually needs to only now go when we start the first frame, which is in the initialize, such that we only clear it when we boot up the game once, and then it keeps getting cleared as part of the compute exposure pass. So now we've just got to get that one going. So rather than gather, it'll be known as compute. And then that would be, you want a proper log2 luminance range, that's what you want. And rather than dimensions, I think you want a pixel count, so that'll just be like a product elements. So it's just x times y basically. As dispatch, we're just doing a divided by the buckets. What is it called? Exposure bins count for the y. We'll just do a lovely 1. And that'll be a compute. Cool. So one more problem is the fact that we do not have oh, sorry. Completely missed it. Just 111. Yeah. The only problem now is we have to clear the exposure value in the global buffer when we boot up the game, so we probably would like a new shader. We probably want to call it graph GFX init. Probably a sensible one. So we probably want to call it, it's just going to be another compute shader, isn't it, really? So we'll just call it GFX init compute shader. Hey Roll, how's it going? Sorry if I've been a while to... My laptop usually has the chat, but the internet died on it, so... yeah, what am I doing? We're just working on auto exposure. So we're going to be getting it up running in just a couple of minutes. Basically the sky and the bloom makes it, everything's so overexposed, and we need to bring the exposure down. So we take the color and basically divide it by a value, right, and bring all of the brightness down such that it's not overexposed. It's a bit like, say, if you're inside a dark room, then you go outside and everything's so bright, then your eyes have an auto exposure where it sort of brings the brightness down overall, so you can make clear, see the outside for what it is, rather than just being blinded by bright light. Mm-hmm. Well, they're making a yeah, they're making that C compiler, isn't it? That Anthropic people. I saw it briefly, but yeah. Anyway, strange. So what I find interesting is everyone's using AI right now, and they're obviously, you've got services which plug, they do like a over the, there are people who made businesses where they basically request or they ask the AI something, right, and get a result back or whatever. So these AI companies are losing lots and lots of money. So I wonder how long it can really go on for. That's the question. Yeah, ads are coming maybe. But yeah, well, that's the thing. To make the AI better, they've had to make it take time and think, sort of process their first answer and think about it again, right? Refine it. Because they can only go so far with the data they're feeding it. Yeah, I know, right? Hey, hey, Mr. Vafal, bus. Welcome. Why? Amidst Windows. Yeah, Linux destroyed itself, TLDR. Basically, if you're really interested in where I've been, what I've been doing, and want all the juicy details, and want a whole 2-hour stream on it, and you can go back to Sunday, the first stream. It's only available for like less than a week on Twitch. So yeah, you can probably watch that and lift some weights, do some squats or something, and get up to date on what's been going on, where we're going. Beer, how have you been? Been a good while. I love the fact that over 95% of users not paying and do not want to pay. Exactly. So it's gonna be a weird time. But the most annoying thing about it for me is the false reality marketing that they put on all the people with the money. They go, yeah, we're gonna replace programmers in like 6 months, trust me. And then like it never happens. And then say, yeah, it's just another 6 months away. And and now Elon, if you've seen his latest post, or the Grok AI or something, check his retweet history. He's basically I've got it on the Discord. We can this one. So sure, I'll break it down. Today we write code and instructions in languages like Python that gets turned into binary. Or kind of. Python doesn't get turned into binary. Anyway. Stupid on so many levels. Anyway, Elon predicts apparently we'll be skipping code and going directly to creating the binary with AI. Whoa, dude. No, I don't know. Next level AI neural nets will even skip that and generate directly what you see on screen in real time, instantly painting pixels without any code or binary steps. Yeah. Whoa, dude. That's just completely impractical based on what we see today with AI. Maybe possible in the future, I don't know, if you manage to make an intelligence like that. But that seems like Jesus would have come back already and we would be living in the millennial reign and there would be no more pain and suffering. And we will have politics which makes sense. And we'll have glorified bodies, we won't ache anymore. That'll be amazing. Good times. Like a drug, the first one's free. Also, CEO is wet dream, not paying people to work. Yeah. Awesome, Code Nugget. Thank you. God bless you too, sir. Amazing. Yeah, I've noticed quite a lot of you guys actually believers as well. That's cool. I've always kind of been a Christian, but very lukewarm and not really. I did believe, but I don't think it was the born again belief. Um, I felt the Holy Spirit before, but it wasn't really. Galatians 2 verse 25. I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life that I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God. It wasn't that, right? It wasn't the it wasn't really, it's the other one, 2 Corinthians 5:17, isn't it? It's the therefore whoever is in Christ is a new creation. Old things have passed away, behold all things become new, that one, Where it was really like your old self has died. You no longer want to sin. You just want to follow Christ and do what's good and seek him every day. And having that relationship, that wasn't really there, but it is now, which is cool. This reminds me, I spoke to my days. I was doing some evangelism on Saturday, and I come across some Mormons in the UK, which is really weird because I've seen them before. I've seen a different group, but there was a different. But a couple months ago, I saw some different Mormons. And the strangest thing is they say they're Christians, but they carry around a Book of Mormon. And I tell them you're replacing the Bible with your Book of Mormon. And they go, oh, no, we read the Bible. But yeah, but you're not getting my point. You're carrying around the Book of Mormon all the time. And you're trying to talk about this Book of Mormon and you're replacing the Bible. Anyway, I tried to talk to him about, asked him how are you saved? And the Mormon guy told me, is saved by following Jesus. And I was like, okay, I, I basically I said to him, but like, are you saved by your works? And he got really confused. He was like, oh, what do you mean by saved by my works? I was like, well, so I just read him back Ephesians 2, verse 8 to 9. I said, the Bible clearly says we're not saved by our works. We're saved by our faith alone in Christ. And it's all a gift from God. And yeah, he really didn't like me from that point onwards. I don't know why they get really offended, but I was trying to let him know that is he doing his works out on the streets based on trying to get saved, which seems quite, I don't know, it seems it's a little selfish, I think. It should come out of love and wanting to get people saved and being born again. And I think they have it's a bit like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they have a works-based salvation, meaning you never know if you've done it well enough, and also taking away the credit from Jesus, because Jesus gets all the credit. Jesus done all the work. We're not good enough. No work I do is good enough. I've already sinned. I needed Jesus. Oh, I need Jesus. Jesus paid it in full, as he said on the cross when he died. And he came back to life. And amazing. But yeah, paid in full by Jesus Christ. Yeah, I need to get much better at like talking to people and I'm not getting offended. I need to get better at that. Sometimes you bring up facts to people and they just get super offended about it. Right. So we wanted to basically make a lovely little initialize. I think I got a no. Have I got one which says no? Is it GPU? Is that a thing? Yeah, no push constants. Just a way to... You flow one for another, faith makes you work. Works gives you more faith. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's the verse that people... That's the people that... the verse that people point to is... faith without works is dead. Right, James 2. So like... You show that you have faith by your work. So a truly safe person is going to work. But an unsaved person as well could also do works. So the works themselves don't show you're saved. The works themselves show that you are possibly saved. Right? And if someone does no works, it means they're probably not saved, but they could be. You don't... Yeah, it's... but the likelihood is they're more like... They're... Yeah, it's a thing, isn't it? Like they could have basically just got saved if they're not producing fruit, is what I would say. Because they might be in the place where it's like, right, I need to just revise so I can represent Jesus, right? You'll always offend someone by saying anything about faith. So yeah, true. It's just Yeah. I think partly what offended them is they called them Mormons, and they don't like that. But they call themselves the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ, which is incredibly deceptive. It's like, yeah, I'm going to take a religion and then, it's the Microsoft move, right? Embrace, extend, extinguish. And they get offended that you call them by the name of their book. They're trying to embrace, extend, and extinguish. Anyway. All right, graphics in it. Cool. So we just want to basically GPU VK. No push constants, please. So we just want to write here when we boot up the game, just initialize some GPU memory, some global memory. Thinking about it, we didn't sync on the global buffer. Yeah, that would be a right bugger. So we want to take the average luminance, write that to 0, and we want to write exposure out as 1, I guess. I'm not sure. Maybe this is known as the exposure scale. Anyway, we'll mess around with that. But for now, we just want to say that global buffer do not sync on this anywhere. Oh, it's a public. Oh, amazing. Right, we don't sync on it anywhere. This is not good. Okay, so GPU VK sync buffer. GPU VK public global buffer access mode of read write. Cool. I guess we could do it with this version. But we won't use the return value. Alright, so we want to do that as well in but did we already sync on that everywhere? The downsample already syncs for it right here. That's good, that's good. Yeah, nice. So in exposure, we use the global buffer here as read write, so we want to make sure we put the sync in there. Cool. What editor is this? This is Helix. It's amazing. It's like Vim. It's like what you want NeoVim to be. Just a simple config file, and it's just like that, rather than an entire programming language. And you can press, I've remapped it to the F key, and you can jump to anywhere you like with just 2 character sequences. It's amazing. It's the best. I would never look back. NeoVim. It's not good. Helix is the way. Hey, ZYBR. Welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're probably brilliant too. Thank you for the compliment. Welcome, Bubbler Block, I imagine. You do Vulkan, I can tell. Nice. I'm still running FGL. Cool. I know some Vulkan, but working with AR assist surgery medical device. A bottleneck's not really the fill rate or geometry or shaders. Okay, cool. Oh, so you doing like Remarching. By any chance. Cool. Yeah, Vulcan's alright. You know, it's oh, it's a pain in the butt to learn, right? But once you've learnt it, it's alright. You know, I wish we had something a bit more lower level and didn't abstract over mobiles and desktops and targeted some more modern hardwares and stuff. Why don't I use Emacs? Because I don't know how to Lisp. Ah, graphics VK globals. Alright, what you complain about now? Yeah. Yeah, this is what I want. Interesting. Cool. Right, that should get everything kicked off now. Right. So here we've got an overexposed image here. It's just Bloom going off as well. So we're so close. So what we should be seeing is these shaders are now running, right? We've got the gather, and we've got this guy here, the compute exposure. That's being, the average luminance is being written into the global buffer. So now all we have to do is simply read that in the post-processing and turn it into a scale value, basically. So we've got to figure out how to do that. Oh, we need to pass in delta time as well. So haven't I got a DT laying about somewhere? Yeah, I've got DTs. That's kind of nice. So what we should probably do is pass. So is it from a renderer's perspective we doing the delta time? I think so. Although, yeah. So what we probably would like, the time start is like initialized here. What we would probably like is a frame start maybe. Now, yeah, so or against something like that. Now, what we probably would like to do then is get this sort of a frame start as a local. Then your frame start set it here, but before then you calculate your DTs. So your DT would be duration milliseconds. No, it's your seconds. Yeah. Then you want to get a time difference. So the after time is frame start, your before time is GG dot something like that. I think this is all implemented. Yeah, should work. So then we simply just throw in the DT there and good job. Now, in post-processing, we also want to place down a synchronization for the globals because we're going to be accessing that, grab the average luminance. So what we're going to do is say read only. And post-processing, we're just going to print out the value. So if we say if is mouse at uCoord for now, it's going to be the same value, but let's just get it out there. So print 0x1 G average luminance. And let's see what that looks like, shall we? On the 7th day, he refactored, and now he rested. On the 7th day. Have you seen the theory of yeah, there's some good theories around why God made it 7 days. Because if you think about it, God is infinitely powerful. So why did he create the world in 6 days? There's some good theories about that. Obviously, one of them is the Jews, how they have the Sabbath day or the Sabbath year, and then the Jubilees, which is a 7 times 7, 49. So on the 50th year, I think it is, they have a Jubilee year. But there's another reason. People think that creation is maybe only 6,000 years old, and then Jesus comes back and starts the millennium, 1,000-year reign of Jesus on the year 6,000 and reigns for 1,000 years, and the whole of creation runs for 7,000 years. Which is interesting. So that means there is a time limit to when Jesus can come back, if that is true. And if you look at today, if you look at the Qumran calendar, we're at the year 5,950. We're in the final 50 years of the Qumran calendar, which is the Dead Sea Scrolls calendar for the Essenes. But the Jewish people at the year 5,876. So theirs is a bit off. Theirs is to the Essenes are a bit different. But yeah, it's an interesting theory. I like it. Because it makes me think Jesus is coming back soon. Within the next 50 years. Then do you risk an analysis of lots? Right, okay, not really. You need CT scans and segmentations to know how tumors and vessels look like. Right, so are they lines? They extract different and render it for surgeons to see. Nice. Oh, okay. Then do you risk the Then you do risk analysis on lots of stabilization efforts to ensure the out point freezing. Nice. Cool. Nice. That must be really scary. You probably have lots of tests. What denomination am I? Pentecostal. Yeah, so just, Holy Spirit. Focus on the Holy Spirit, basically, yeah. But Yeah, so do the whole speaking in tongues thing, but not too much the other stuff. I don't know. I believe that, because some people believe that as a Pentecostal, believe you're saved when you can speak in tongues, which is not even biblical, I think. Or it is kind of right, because you got Cornelius. Is that right? The guy in Acts 13, when Peter reads him the gospel, not reads him the gospel, he tells him the gospel, right? The Gentile. And as he's telling him the gospel, the guy just has received the Holy Spirit and he starts speaking tongues because he's believed, he has had faith, right? And that counts as the Acts 2 verse 28, where the Catholics and the Orthodox like to point to, where you have to be baptized or something like that. Yeah. So I believe I believe that, like, as soon as you receive Jesus in faith, you're saved, always saved, born again, can't lose it because you're changed, and you've got your firm foundation on the rock of Christ. So that means basically you can't be convinced otherwise, because you've experienced it, you know it, and you have the Holy Spirit dwelling in you, right? So, because otherwise it would be of works, right? You'd have a carrot having, you would have a carrot on the end of a stick trying to keep you doing good works, which is not how it works. How about you? Which one are you? X, Y, B, R. Gotta go. Come back someday. Awesome. Good to see you, Code Nugget. Have a good night. Oh, why isn't this working? Or it is kind of. It's at 1. You telling me the average luminance is 1? It's not good, is it? So we initialized it to 0. So it does kind of work, right? But it's not really interesting. What about the delta term? Nice. So I think the next thing to do might be to debug draw the bins, basically. So like the best place to do that would be this shader where it goes over all the bins. And I think we can make a nice debug section where we can say for each bin, basically, draw out like just directly in the shader, we've got the ability to do this. So we just say if debug, right? We just draw. So I think it's called like, hang on, we'll get this. So we have a maximum number of pixels. If we take the count in bin, so I think it's like draw 2D AABB. I think we've got a min-max one as well. No, we haven't. Right, so sent up. Oh, there is a min-max. Lovely, here's what we want. So what I'm thinking is we just simply, what space is it going in? Good question. Oh, so I think that will be, we probably want it in, let's do normalized device coordinates. Now, minimum, we could do it in screen. Yeah, but where's it drawn? Render 2D, what would you run on top of? Yeah, it must be done on top of the scene. Okay, that's cool. I'll live with that. So, Minimax. So we can say there's probably like a width of G scene dims dot x divided by number of buckets or bins as we call them. So now we just want to work out what is your sort of base offset. So base offset would be which bin index are you multiplied by the width, and then you probably want to, the y is probably going to start at 0. Now the max is going to be kind of this, but we're going to add 1 to the x, so we go to the next side, and the top is based on the number of counts in the bin, but obviously divided by it's probably the total number of pixels, maybe. Total number of pixels is probably a bit too much, but let's just see how it looks. Depth we can just stick at 0, I think, or 1. Now the border thickness, because we can have a border, which is kind of cool. Hang on a minute, we're going to have a border? What does that look like? You only have one color. How does that make any sense? Oh, right, so it can become like a border, of course. Right, so border thickness will be infinity. Now the color is, we could do a lovely little color thing. We want to basically compute a random color. So I think I'll GPU nice color thing. Nice color U32, I think it's called. Something like this. So we just pass in a U32 and get a color, just a random color for it. So yeah, and just drop that in there like that. Lovely. Now, bit long, so we could probably just quickly do a min and then a max. Make that just a little bit more readable. And voila. So we run this, we should be able to see debug visualization of the histogram on the screen. And the answer is, oh, yes, it's gradually accumulating slowly and then it stops. Yeah, so that's the fade. That's cool. But where's the drawing? I don't see it. Why? Have I messed up my draws? Oh, what have I done? Yeah, that should be fine. Oh, what are they drawing on? Good question. Should be drawing on post, right? Gotcha. Scene post. They're drawing on the wrong texture. Oh, frozen. For Russia, but I lost my faith. Oh no. You know all those Dawkins theories? Dawkins theories. No. Anyway, I grew up as a non-decommunized country, and that's important. The Eastern Orthodox is in poor condition right now, especially. Sorry. Basically, I've been a Gnostic for 10 years and was baptized in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Considering which denomination to convert to, maybe Lithuanian confession will help me restore my faith. I know nothing about the Bible or the gospel. Right, I see. That's cool. So yeah, so basically you grew up. I don't know what you're saying there with that. Oh, you're talking about Richard Dawkins. You're talking about that guy. Maybe. Like he's an atheist, and you say you're a agnostic. So the thing is about Orthodox is they get a lot of things right. They get they were actually the people who preserved um the the manuscripts, right? The reason why we have the King James and the New King James is because which go off the sort of Orthodox, a lot more of the Orthodox stuff, and it is because the Orthodox kept kept good copies of their manuscripts basically, and the Catholic ones have some slight differences in them. But anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. Yeah, I'd stick to King James and New King James because of that reason. But yeah, but my only problem with the Orthodox people is I think they kind of like to pray to Mary as well. And what's the other thing they like to do? They like to say that they're saved by doing the Eucharist. You know, doing the eating the bread and drinking of the blood, right, and stuff like that. And they take a verse out of they take a verse out of context. They don't read the whole of John 8 and understand what Jesus actually said. Jesus said, speaking in the spiritual sense, basically, and in that same chapter, he says twice, "You have to believe." And what he was saying something such that people who were not he said something really sort of that sounded crazy, make all the people who wasn't believing in him just basically go. But he was speaking in the spiritual sense about drinking, eating his body and drinking his blood. And the Catholics and the Orthodox take that literally and physically. That every time they take the Eucharist, they think they're drinking his physical blood and eating his body. But yeah, read John 8, you understand what I mean. And they think they have to do that to be saved, which is wrong, unfortunately. But the thing is about denominations is it's difficult to find the right church. You know, Pentecostal is quite alright from where I am right now, but every Pentecostal is different. I think the best thing to do is you want to try and find a church that just follows the Bible as much as possible because it's the Bible that has the authority. I think the problem is with some of these Orthodox people and Catholics is they like to trust these early church fathers or whatever, the ones which kind of are closer to the disciples, but they're not the disciples, and they put those words over what is written in the Bible, and they end up doing stuff like what I just mentioned, basically, unfortunately. But what can I say? Yeah, if you're willing to receive Christ, you can be saved right now, literally. Like the Bible says in Ephesians 2, verse 8 to 9, it says we're saved by grace through faith, and not of ourselves. It's the gift of God, not of works, as anyone should boast. If you're struggling with the faith part to receive the faith from Christ, it's all a gift. So it says, the grace, meaning we get something we don't deserve, the gift of salvation, the salvation itself, and even the faith is all a gift from God. Like that's what that verse is saying, Ephesians 2, verse 8 to 9, if you give it a study. So, and Jesus says no one comes to Jesus unless the Father draws him in first. So if you want to become a Christian, if you're struggling to actually believe, just pray to God and be honest. Just open up your heart and just say, I want to believe in you, but I struggle for these reasons, right? Just be open and pray about it and ask God to find you a church. So I'll tell you a story. So before I met my wife, I struggling to find someone to take life seriously with and settle down, have a family. People weren't really serious. I was probably, I don't know, 22, 23. People weren't really looking to settle down. And so I tried everything, going out, finding a lady and everything like that. No, didn't work. So basically, I was like, right, I'm giving up. I'm not going to bother trying anymore. Got down by my bed and I prayed to God, who I didn't really believe in, but I knew something probably existed, but I didn't know which God existed. Right? So that's the agnostic thing. And I prayed, asked, find my wife, basically. I don't know if you're real or anything like this. Just being honest. And 6 months later, I met with my wife, and yeah, you know, she, she is the type of person who I can open up with. I can just be myself around her, honest, and she's honest, and I know she loves me unconditionally. And yeah, she is just, a gift from God. And it took me a while to still come to God after that. This is what happens, right? You ask things of God. It says, ask, you shall receive, right? Seek, you'll find, knock, it will be opened. But every time we ask receive, we like to think maybe it wasn't, right? But yeah. Have you got any more questions that are BR? Did I sort of answer that? But yeah, I would say start there. Seek God by praying, maybe even doing a bit of a fast, read a bit of the Bible, read the book of John, right? And just get your own ask for God to lead you to the right church, because finding the right church is not really about the denomination. It's about finding the right people. The denomination is just they're blurry boxes sometimes. Obviously some of them are completely wrong. But sometimes people call themselves a denomination, but they're not really following it, if you get what I mean. It's all about following what's in the Bible first, in my opinion. So yeah, we should have the debug stuff appearing now. Right. I need to make it a color attachment. So when we do the post-process image, it needs to follow BK image usage color attachment. No worries. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask away anytime. Anytime you need help. Right, so I cannot see those rendering, which sucks real bad. Because they happen before the post-process, that's why. So they should happen on the bloom target. No. Alright, put back to the shaded image, but... hang on a minute. Draw 2D. Move them before bloom. Yeah, it just need a better solution, but that'll do for now. Don't see him being drawn, unfortunately. Can we go to yeah, so we see the proper values, right? Let's put if around that. Say GL local 2. Ah, it's still 0 for some reason. What's the pixels count? Yeah, I think a lot of them will just be, yeah, it probably needs to be floating point, doesn't it? Yeah, its pixel count is big. Yeah, so I think that's probably a bit of a too big of a number, but yeah, basically we want them to both be floating point. I think that's what the problem potentially could be. Which ones of them have... Which ones of these guys have... I want to say if this is not equal to 0. Right, so they're very, very small of a size. Yeah, it's not a good one. So count in bin. Maybe we just don't even do the division here. Because it's just in screen pixels anyway, so I think that should be fine. Now we should see something on the screen. No. Oh, well, we're getting lines now. I don't know, why is it? Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, I think we should do this divided by the number of bins. Something like that. So if you take this number and you divide this number by the number of bins. exposure bins count. Like that. That might do it. Okay, we're seeing something a bit better. Not quite good. But yeah, you see some of these lower bins here. You're sort of seeing it, which is kind of cool. It's like you want to know the maximum. Of them all and scale it to about halfway across the screen, maybe. But at least we're able to sort of debug it, I guess. So those are the sort of lower bins as well, right? The range is probably a bit too much, I don't know. So you are in a thread group, right? So really what we could do for debugger reasons, we could do this, we could say well, you know, show debug 1. So if def show debug, or if show debug, right? Then it will be, you want a shared, sort of like a max, bin max, something like that, we'll call it, gbin max. So all that would be is atomic max into gbin max of count in bin. Again, that'll be if debug, yeah. Then, so now we have this sort of like gmax in bin thing, right? So you can just do divide by that. Now that will make it scale across the whole screen. And it might be jumping all over the place, maybe. No, come on. I see nothing there. Yeah, so what you need atomic max. G bin max equals 0. I see very small amount of pixels down here. Very small. There's like a line. Oh yeah, you're only gonna get one, aren't you? That's not wise. But yes, that gets you, and then you multiply it by half of the screen. So it'd be that it. Cool. There you go. That's one way we could do it. So it's sitting in like the second bucket. So it seems like our min is way too small, and it's all going into like the first bucket or something like that. Bit weird. Or the second bucket. So here this is why we're getting low value of 1 in the luminance. Potentially. No, perhaps it's fine though. So could we quickly convert that into a luminance, sorry, an exposure value or something like that? How'd you do that? So however, yep, that's it. Now we have our L average value, which we can use the equation above to calculate the exposure. Nice. So where was that? V. Yeah. Is the code in this one? Yes, you've got to take. Yes, this one here. You go to EV100, and then you go to EV100. And then H is the exposure. Right. See if we can get it generated here. So we're going from, there was that article we had the other day as well. Maybe it's in there. So there's a PBR v3 for Frostbite, wasn't it? There you go. So this is the physically based camera stuff. So you could simulate the camera in a way. From average luminance, this is what you want. So auto EV100. Lovely. This is our boy. Yoink. So GPU graphics VK shared. You probably want to go to the color, or GPU VK shared, sorry. Color, yeah, the stuff. So we later used the middle gray of 27.5 in order. Middle gray is 18% with the square root of 2. So EV100 from luminance. Is that right? I guess we'll say average luminance because it is kind of, that's the point. Right. We'll let you use the middle gray at 12.7 in order to have a middle gray at 18% with a square root of 2. Room for specular highlights, but we deal with a spot meter measuring middle gray, which fixed at 12.5 for matching standard camera constructor settings. Alright. I think that'll be fine. Okay. EV100 from. So in this processing, we literally just take the average luminance and calculate the exposure. G average luminance. And then we run it. So you do it before tone mapping. I think you do it before tone mapping. They just got really overexposed. it's getting higher. Seems incredibly wrong. Luminance times exposure exposed. Convert EV100 to exposure. I see. Yep, so you can have a manual exposure by just defining a EV100 value. Makes a lot of sense. Right, so convert EV100 to exposure. So exposure from EV100. Right, compute the maximum. Luminance possible. Alright. Lovely. We're missing the line underneath. Return the inverse. Yeah, return the inverse there, yeah. So this is the one we're missing. So as this says, you get the EV100. Alright, let's try that out. Ooh. That's looking better. That sky is looking good. Or maybe it is working fine. Yeah, so it times it by 0.1. That's looking great. Huh. There's all in those whole lower buckets. Maybe my ranges are not the best though. But these are quite white still, but that's probably okay. Maybe. I did times it by a big valley. Times by 16. Hey there, Alexa. How you doing, sir? Welcome. What you been up to? So if we go to scene shade, we are times them by 16. They are a bit bright. Huh. Wow. Ain't that lovely? So if we turn the camera to the side, Obviously, they're not really blooming as much as they were because of that, but wait a minute. So the time map. Yeah, you would have got rid of the bloom. You can still kind of vaguely work it out, but it's obviously is blooming. But yeah, so if we move the camera to rotate, let's go to game. That's looking amazing. So if we turn the camera towards the east or whatever it is, where the sun rises. Ah, yes. Perfect. I'm actually going through Handmade Hero series these days. Nice, having fun. There's so much diving into game dev stuff. Yeah, exactly. Game dev is amazing. No, very interesting. Lots of different areas as well to get into, and quite, lots of fun. And especially when it comes to building your own tech as well. Yeah, building a 2D game and an engine is not. Yeah, it's possible for a single person, isn't it? Lots of fun. So if we play around with the time of day, can we get the sun going up now? Let's just take a look at that. Go to the sky, shade, right? There's the sort of sun direction, right? Which is hard coded to use the term, or was, but I fixed it. So we want to instead do the time version now. My face. So what you're seeing here at the bottom is not a glitch. Don't worry about it. What is this, you might be asking? Well, it is the histogram visualization. So what it's showing is how bright stuff is really getting, right? But it's not adjusting fast enough, maybe. I don't know. Like, can we multiply the time by 0.1, make it 10 times slower? Is it going to adjust quicker now to the high exposure? It's interesting. It went all the way up. It's only going up to 20 buckets. Maybe our bucket range needs to be changed. It's only possible. Looking forward to the moment when I figure out most of the stuff. Not there yet. That's right. You'll get this, sir. Don't worry about it. I got rid of my exposure values, which wasn't fun. It's getting late now. Getting late. See, I think the adjusting is way too slow. Put it that way. So what we're looking for, I think, is a luminance. So it's compute exposure in it. So I think this is way too slow. So it probably needs to get 10 times quicker. But we don't like numbers like that. So we've got to keep it power of 2. Non-power of 2 numbers are bad. Always got to be power of 2. And Yeah, this is the visualization of the histogram, by the way. Don't worry, it's not a glitch. Trust me. So the exposure value is dropping. I don't know, there's something about this. Could be better. Yeah. Count in bin is probably the wrong one to use. The color, at least. Yeah, I think maybe our bin range is a bit too high. Not the bin range, sorry, the luminance range for the bins. So whereas it's somewhere here, it's the 8 is maybe a bit too high. We half, wait, you can't half it. If you use 7, it halves it. Now we should see the bucket visualization go across the whole screen as the time increases. Here we go. Yeah, it's starting to cover the whole screen now, this. But will it adjust? That is the question. It's going below 0. Sorry, 0.1, but it's not getting any lower. Yeah, anyways. How does that compare? Hey Lupo, how's it going? Been a while. Yeah, good man. How have you been? How's that compares to the shader toy? By the way, if you're interested in seeing where I've been, what we've been doing, check out Sunday the 1st on Twitch. You can see a couple hour presentation where I've been, what I've been doing, and have a catch up. But yeah, I'm back now, streaming all the same times as before. Just yeah, just got a bit of a new direction. Yeah, let's try the exposure of -4, I think it was the XP2. See if that looks any better. And we'll see why the auto exposure isn't really working as we hoped. It's most of the way there, it's just not quite what we want. So this guy's manual exposure, it was like EXP2 of -4. So why is that better? Right. So -4 is 0.06. It just didn't get that low for us. But if we have a look, right, still looking a little overexposed. Maybe it's not my auto exposure then. Maybe the problem is the tone mapper. You see, because I made it like super bright here. I don't know. Anyway, things to play around with. Cool. Right, so that's reasonable progress. So I guess in the next stream, we're going to try and figure out why our sky is not looking like this sky here. And I think we'll add a nice sun in as well, right? We'll kind of wrap up the whole bloom, uh, auto exposure, and sky shading work. We'll wrap it all up next stream, which will be on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. GMT. Obviously, a Discord if you're going to come and hang out in the meantime. And after that, we'll be doing some material shading work. So custom materials, procedural materials at runtime. Try and see what it would take to do that and be good performance. And just do some full screen material shaders and get PBR in and stuff like this. I've got to really think about the order of which one to do that. We probably just want to get PBR in some way, full screen pass, and yeah, bring that code over and then do some procedural materials. But anyways, yeah, thank you for coming by. Appreciate you all coming. And I'll see you all in the next one. Hopefully, if you check down below on Twitch, what you can see is the schedules, what time we're on and what time. Yeah, so it's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. Yeah, I hope all is well, and I'll see you all in the next one. Try to catch you.